Oh. You've set it to automatic recording, Prabhu?
I think so.
Okay.
Is it recording?
It's already recording, yeah.
Okay. Am I upside down or I'm okay or what's going on?
You're fine.
Shall we start? The setting is automatic recording, is it?
Yeah, in the meeting settings, when you start the meeting, you can choose whether to automatically record or not.
Maybe I did. Now it will record to a cloud. Is there a way you can access it from there? This is ISKCON.
Hey Google, stop.
It should be recording to the cloud, Prabhu.
You know how to get it from there?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's start. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gona Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Ram College, 95
Tam Rama Rameti Madhuram Rakshanam Aruhya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Himatam Varishtam Vatatmajam Vanarayuta Mukhyam Shri Ramadutam Shiratanamani Dakshine Lakshmano Yasya Vame Cha Janakatmaja Purato Marutir Yasya Tam Vande Raghunandanam Apadam Apahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Labhiramam Bhuyo Hare Krishna. So please mute your mics, and I will unmute everyone when this discussion. So we're going to continue Ayodhya Kanda. We finished chapter 31. To do 32. After Sri Ramachandra agreed for Lakshmana to go, he told Lakshmana, go ahead and send, go ahead and distribute all your wealth to the Brahmanas. So Lakshmana went, and there's a particular Brahmana by the name Suyagya, who was the son of Vasishtha, Suyagya, and distributed all of his wealth, and then brought him to meet Ramachandra. And Sita Devi gave tons and tons of jewelry to Suyagya's wife, as Ramachandra distributed his wealth. And then a whole bunch of wealth was distributed to the Brahmanas who all were there in Ramachandra's presence. So there was one particular Brahmana by the name Trijata. This Trijata Brahmana used to live in Ayodhya, was very poor, very skinny, lanky, and all he did was go to the forest with a spade and a basket and would dig for fruits, not fruits, dig for tubers, and that's all he would bring back and feed his family. So he was very, very poor. So similar to Sudama's wife, Trijata's wife said, "Why don't you go to Ayodhya, city or the palace, and ask Sri Ramachandra to help you, since he's anyway distributing his wealth to the Brahmins." So when Trijata comes, Sri Ramachandra sees him with his stick or staff and jokingly says to him, distributing cows away in charity, if you throw your stick from here to some distance, however far you throw your stick, between you and where the stick falls, that entire space I will cover with cows and give you in charity. And then Ramachandra says, don't get upset. I'm not mocking you. I'm just trying to be humorous. So Trijata whirls his stick and throws it. And interestingly, although he's a skinny Brahmana, he has so much strength that he hurls it all the way to the Sarayu river. So Ramachandra tells him, well, I'm glad. I just wanted you and others to see how much strength you have. And I was not mocking you. So here are all the cows that gave him hundreds of cows. Then Ramachandra, Lakshmana and Sita Devi, the trio, started walking from Ramachandra's home to Dasharat Maharaj's quarters. Now, previously, Ramachandra would never walk on the streets like that. Usually, he'd be on a chariot. Sita Devi would be in a palanquin. But now, when all three are walking on the street, all of the residents of Ayodhya get a chance to see them, which otherwise it's not possible to see. And the crowds got filled with people wanting to take, just a moment of glance at this three, at the trio. And they were so happy, at the same time sad, because they're happy to see them, but sad about the occasion in which they're seeing them. The streets got so crowded that people started running up to the roofs of the houses to get a nice view, unobstructed view of Sri Ramachandra, Sita Devi, and Lakshmana. And the people on the street started talking to each other. And they're saying, when they saw Sita, because always the queen doesn't walk around on the streets. So the crowd was Yana Shakya Pura Drashtum. So in Sanskrit, when you say Yah, it's for man, for the male, Ya, and Ya is for female. So Yana Shakya Drashtum was never possibly seriously. For those who are on land, they never saw Sita previously because she was always in a covered condition. Akashagai, even the Gandharvas and Charanas who fly in the sky, they never got to Sita. They never got to see Sita previously. Tam adya Sitam Pashyanti Raja Marga Gata Jana. That Sita, who was never visible to the great Gandharvas, Charanas, Siddhas, today is visible to the ordinary Jana who are walking on the street. That's the sort of pitiable condition, if you will. And they were concerned that, oh, look at this Sita. She is so fair. She's such a golden, shining. She's so well dressed. She applies all this sandalwood paste and red kumkuma powder on her body, and she's adorned with all these jewels. Now, when she goes away into the forest, she'll become very pale because the heat and the cold in the forest will deteriorate her complexion and her the grace and effulgence that she carries. Then, so when these three, and there's a lot more things that the residents of Ayodhya say, oh, look at how, what a situation. Dasarath Maharaj has promised such a hard, difficult promise to Kaikeyi, and Ramachandra has paid. Oh, no, no. And, yeah. Everyone takes the side of Ramachandra. And this is something to know, that people in general will always move and take a side of anyone they think is a victim. So whenever there is a victim, they get sympathy. So we see that in a situation when two people have an argument, one very quickly plays the role of a victim. When one feels victimized, then it's easier to gather support. So they all saw Ramachandra as a victim. He never saw himself as a victim, but they saw him. And so they're like, oh, look how difficult it is. Look at the condition he's being put into, etc. So anyway, the three of them come to Dasharath Maharaj's palace. And at the gate, they meet Sumantra. And before that, while they were walking on the street, and all these people were speaking different things about Kaikeyi, about Dasarath Maharaj, about the difficulties the trio will face in the forest. The shloka says that Rama heard different kinds of remarks made by many, many people, but his mind was not disturbed. Ityevam vividha vacho, different kinds of words were spoken. Nana jana samiritaha, different kinds of people said different things. Shushrava Ramah Shutva, Rama Shutva, even after hearing all this, Chana Vichakre Asya Manasam, his mind did not move. That means he did not get disturbed. He did not think, yeah, actually, see, even everybody is saying that I'm a victim. So when Alice Ram, that I'm here at his gate, and he may kindly give me permission to enter. Sumantra walks in, is Dasharatha. Dasharatha's condition described by Valmiki is the shloka that I'm going to tell you. He said, Uparaktum ivadityam bhasmachannam ivanalam tatakam iva nistoyam api paschat jagati patim. This king Dasharatha was the Jagati Pati. He was the king of the land, the ruler of the land. Sumantra, what he saw, Valmiki gives three analogies. Uparaktum ivam adityam, like the sun was eclipsed. Bhasmam channa ivanalam, like fire that was covered with ash. And third, tatakam iva nistoyam, a lake. Tataka means a lake without any water. It was arid. It was completely dry. So the first analogy speaks about the effulgence of the king, as the sun, as bright as the sun. Or another way of understanding it is the descendant of the Surya dynasty was eclipsed by Kaikeyi's demand. And because of what Kaikeyi asked, his entire effulgence had gone away. That's the first. Bhasma Channam Ivanalam. the fiery, it's called Tejas or Ojas in Sanskrit. Teja and Oja are two things. Teja is the power, potency, and Oja is the sensory capability. It says Bhasmachandam, that ash had covered a fire. So fire is there, but you can't see it because of the ash. And so, in one sense, Kaikeyi had burnt Dasharat Maharaj's dreams to ashes. It's completely gone. And Tatakam is even is poem. The water is life-giving. And Ramachandra, who's this abundant ocean or lake of love, was going away. So the lake had become dry. Nistoyam api jagati. Very beautiful. So then Sumantra said to Dasharatha Maharaj, your son, after giving up all his wealth, is waiting at the gate to see you. He is accompanied by Lakshmana and Sita. So Dasharatha Maharaj turned to Sumantra and said, call all my queens. I want all of them here when I'm meeting Rama. Are you both? Can you see me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. For a moment it said lost. So Sumantra went, called Kausalya and Kaikeyi, Sumitra, and the 350 queens. All of them accompanied Kausalya and came to stand next to Dasharatha Maharaj. As Ramachandra, Sita Devi and Lakshmana are walking towards Dasharatha Maharaj, he gets up from his seat and runs to meet them.
Oh,
But
sorry,
his heart,
can you adjust your phone?
again, I didn't do anything to it. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. So as he runs forward to meet them, his heart is so heavy that he falls on the ground unconscious. He is not even able to meet Ramachandra. So quickly Lakshmana and Ramachandra carry Dasharatha Maharaj to a couch and lay him down there and wait for him to come back to consciousness. And when he comes back to consciousness, he sees Rama and Lakshmana, and Ramachandra with folded hands says, please give me blessings, your permission to see, for me to go to the forest. So Dasharatha Maharaj sees Ramachandra's resolve in his eyes and blesses him. He says, Shreyase Vruddhaye Tan Punar Agamanaya Cha. So may you have Shreya, may you have all sorts of welfare coming to you. Shreyase Vruddhaye. Vruddhaye means for advancement of your glory. Okay. Tata, oh my dear son, Punar Agamanaya Cha. May you have all fame, all glory, all auspiciousness for you to return. Gachasva Arishtama. Gachasva, please go to the forest. Arishtama, in a very auspicious way. May all auspiciousness be with you. Avyagraha. Avyagraha means without being distracted, or in other way, being very focused on your mission. Panthanam akuto bhayam, and may you have no fear from any direction. Bhayam and akuto bhayam. Kutaha means from where, and akuta means from everywhere, from all directions. So akuto bhayam means may you have fearlessness from all sides, or may you not have fear from any side. So after giving him these blessings, then Dasharatha Maharaj makes a request. Since you're anyway decided to go, can you not go right away? Stay for the night and go tomorrow morning. Because if you stay for the night, I will be able to hold on to life a little longer, that I can at least see you tonight, until tonight, and then tomorrow morning you can go. And then he says, still I'm very pained at the fact that you have to go. In fact, don't go. Just put me in jail and take the entire kingdom. Right foot, no problem. Because I got cheated by Kaikeyi. Then Ramachandra tells him, no, no, no. You are the king. You should continue to be the king. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm very determined to go to the forest because I don't want to tarnish your reputation as a truthful king. Yamuna Jivana, I sent you a slide. Is it possible you can share? So Ramachandra is this. There's a fantastic verse that he speaks, and that is what we're going to look at today. As Yamuna Jivana is going to share it. And the verse goes like this. Tadadyanaiva nagarajyamavyayam na sarvakaman na sukham na maithilim na jivanti tvaman rutena yojayan vriniya satyam varamastute tatha. I'm going to read it again. Tadadyanaiva nagarajyamavyayam na sarvakaman na sukham na maithilim na jivanti tvaman rutena yojayan vriniya satyam varamastute tatha. So I've highlighted two words. So first let me explain what's the translation. It says, O sinless one, Anagha, I today, Adya, I Vriniya, I don't seek this imperishable kingdom. I don't seek any of or all of my desires to be fulfilled. I don't seek any happiness. I don't even seek the company of Sita or my own life. What I'm concerned about is your name being associated with falsehood or falsity. Tvam Andratena Yojayan. Andrata means falsity. But what I'm seeking is that your vrata, your word should come out true. Te vratam satyam astu. That's the meaning of the word. So now, one thing that we notice is this verse begins with tad, or the syllable ta. If you remember, we began the Ramayana, we discussed why anything in the Ramayana that begins with ta is considered a sacred, almost a mantra, that when recited gives the reciter a very, very special potency. So, for example, the Ramayana begins with tapasvadhyaya niratam. That's the very first verse, a very potent verse about the qualifications of a disciple and the qualifications of a spiritual master and the relationship and how it should be. So, very potent. Then later, we will hear the verse from Shurpanaka when she's describing Ramachandra and Lakshmana to Khara. She says, Tarunau Rupasan. So that verse or two verses are meditation. Then the Sundara Kanda begins with, oh my gosh, I recited every day. Tato Ravana Nitaya Sitaya Shatrukarshana. Again starts with Ta. It's Hanuman about to jump to Lanka. So this verse also begins with Ta. So the first indicator is, oh, this must be a very, very important verse because there's an important lesson here. So now looking at the verse, the way it is composed, it reminded me of Sikshashtakam, verse number 4. The Sikshashtaka verse is also constructed exactly similar to this. Na janam, na sundarim kavitam va, jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmani sware, bhavatad bhaktir ahaituki tvai. So, just a little lesson in Sanskrit shloka. And I learned this from my father-in-law, that when you look at a verse, it's very difficult to understand which word is the verb. So to get the meaning of a verse, the first thing what one should do is to find the verb. And that verb, because it's an action word, will give context and meaning to everything else. So in the Sikshastaka 4th verse, the verb is kamaye. Kamaye means to desire. On the left side of kamaye, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu puts all the things that he does not desire. So he says na, that word, and kamaye. Na dhanam kamaye, na janam kamaye, na sundarim kamaye. Get the idea. And on the right side of kamaye, he puts what he is desiring. Bhavatad bhaktir ahai tuki tvai. Bhavatad, your bhakti unto you. And who's the you? Jagadisha, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of Creation. So Ramachandra is speaking, because there Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke, here Ramachandra is speaking. Very, very similar. The word Vriniya means seeking. So on the left side he says, I am not seeking Adya, today, this Rajam Avyayam. I don't want it. Na dhanam. Just sarva kaman. I don't have all the desires that I have. I'm not interested. Na sukham. I don't even care for happiness. Na maithili. I don't even need, or I don't even seek Sita's company. Na jivanti. I don't care for my own life, because I seek something else. Satyam or te vratam satyamastu. All I am interested in is that your words, the word that you have spoken, the vow that you have taken should be fulfilled. Very, very parallel, beautiful verse. Now, when you look at this verse, on the left side of what he does not care about or does not give credence to are 6 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on the right side is only one thing. Satya. The left side is kingdom, desires, happiness, Sita Devi, his own life, and Dasharath Maharaj's reputation being associated with falsity. He does not desire that. So from a quantity side, there are 6 things to give up for one thing. Someone might say, it doesn't make sense. Why give up 6 things for one thing? But Ramachandra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are all not about quantity, they're about quality and what the value that one thing holds. Satyam or Bhakti, both are non-different actually. Because truth is Bhakti, acting in Bhakti is truth, absolute truth. Everything else is relative truth. And I'll tell you why Maithili is in that category. So this absolute truth is Ramachandra saying, I always stand for truth. And that truth is far more valuable to me than anything else on that side. If everything else is at stake, that's okay for me. So very beautiful verse. Now there are 3 or 4 applications of this verse. First is I'm paralleling this and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's fourth verse on Shikshashtaka. So I'm switching between the two of you. I hope you will follow along and catch it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Ramachandra setting the example of making a strong commitment to truth or bhakti under all circumstances without taking the shelter of or without contaminating bhakti with these things. Meaning, I'm not performing bhakti or I'm not following truth to get this kingdom. I'm not following bhakti or following truth to get all my desires fulfilled. I'm not doing it for happiness also, although by nature one will be happy. But sometimes devotees or practitioners think uh, I'm taken up bhakti for peace of mind because I want happiness. The happiness that one is looking for here is called sukham. There's a distinction generally people make between sukh and ananda. Sukham means that which the mind perceives as happiness generally because of sense contact. And ananda is that which the soul experiences because of it being in its or near its constitutional position. So here the word is sukham. And he says na maithili. So from a general sense, he's not doing it to achieve the favor of his wife or to achieve a good wife or some object of affection. Na jivanti. Uh, he doesn't care that his life has to be well organized in a particular way because people think that by doing bhakti, my life will become better and more organized, and generally, I don't have much problems. People are afraid of problems or difficulties, so they like things to be uh, peaceful. Oh, thank you. So Ramachandra is saying, no, I'm doing bhakti or following truth for the sake of truth. So that's that first application. Second is another way of looking at verse from a different angle. As one is performing devotional service, naturally in the life of every uh, bhakta, there are challenges. And when challenges come, the tendency is to give up or slacken bhakti for the sake of uh, one of those things. For example, people may give up or slacken their bhakti for fulfilling some other desire or for some other kind of happiness. Third application is when you look at sides of a weighing scale, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Ramachandra are saying that I prioritize bhakti practices above these considerations. For a sadhaka, it's always a tough game. What should I prioritize? And generally, we make a mess of. I don't mean to say a mess in a bad way. We in the name of prioritizing, we don't do each of any of them so well. So one may say, but I have duties. Prabhupada said, follow your execute your duties. Performing my duties, I tend to neglect or deprioritize my bhakti practice. And sometimes one does way on the other side that in the name of following and doing bhakti practices, one becomes negligent of their duties. Here they're saying that all of these on the left side are fueled by the one on the right side, by Satyam or by Bhakti. So many times we find that this prioritization, because we're not very, we tend to parallelly do both. I've seen people have their hand in the bag and they're doing other things about day-to-day routine with the left hand. The eyes are on the computer screen. They're fixing some code or some sentence there, and in between Hare Krishna. Sometimes they uh, stir the cooking pot and the contents with the left hand while the bead bag is in the right hand. Uh, they're taking care of children. They're parallel processing because they need to finish the 16. Um, I found myself doing that many years ago, and I got caught into, hey, what is going on? So this parallel processing is where one thinks somehow uh, I only have so many hours in a day, and I need to get everything done. The first lesson in bhakti is, if the sadhana practices are done with zest and enthusiasm, it makes us so much more efficient and alert and present that all of the other things can be managed in far better ways than we had imagined. Another way, now this is at the level of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramachandra, and we aspire that we can be there. That for the sake of truth, for the sake of bhakti, I'm willing to put so many other things at stake. Or the value that I place in kingdom, happiness, the fulfilling of desires, all of that, I I'm willing to put them at stake. The value that I put there is now transferred to or reposed to the value I put in the, the life of. Now here's a fifth application. We as uh, devotees, aspiring devotees, shelter of this verse, that let's say we take a vow, whatever vows we take, and we find it hard to sometimes follow those vows, chanting of 16 rounds, following of the regulative principles. Sometimes they're difficult. I know of many cases where it's difficult. So when we have taken a vrata, Ramachandra is saying, listen, O Bhakta, I will not care for anything else. I will not even care for the Sita Devi to be on my side. I will not care for my own life, but I will come to help you make sure that your vow is not violated. If we invite him to come. Because Ramachandra says, Vratam, uh, Te Vratam, your vow, Satyam Astu. May it always be truthful. May you be truthful to your vow, and I will be there for you. So it's a very, very strength-giving verse. So after he said this and was determined to go to the forest, the 34 ends with, all the 349 queens cried, except Kaikeyi. They burst out into wailing. They were besides themselves, except Kaikeyi, who stood with a very, very stern face, just not moved. So when we meet next time, we will hear um, Sumantra chastise Kaikeyi. He is a chariot driver. He does not have the authority to speak to the king's favorite queen, but he goes out of character, if you will, and chastises Kaikeyi severely. So that's what's coming up next. Any questions, comments, thoughts? I intentionally ended a little early because I was speaking on this verse, which in one sense is very practical from a day-to-day execution of sadhana. So I'm hoping if there are questions or comments or your own reflections of how this verse of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshashtaka verse is applicable to you, it'd be nice for all of us to hear and take strength from.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
This
Krishna.
is Atul.
Yeah.
So Prabhu, you just said that everybody else was crying when they heard that Lord Rama is leaving, except Kaikeyi. So generally in life, you get influenced by the emotions that are there surrounding us. Like even if we probably don't feel like crying, but just because somebody else is experiencing sadness, like even in this COVID situation, um, just looking around, the heart melts, or there is some effect on it. But Kaikeyi, at least at that moment, she wasn't moved at all. So what is the quality, or I mean this quality, or wrong quality in the heart that can make it so hard that she could be easily influenced by mantra by one person, but was not influenced or affected by thousands of other people in the kingdom?
The quality in this case is cruelty. Drushamsa. Just the way uh, many people feel very, very pained to see an animal being slaughtered. But the butcher never feels anything. From morning till night, he does whatever he or she does. And they butcher an animal crying for pain. And the same butcher can be a mother or a father. And when their own children are suffering from a cold or fever or something, they will feel so agitated that they're besides themselves. They will rush to a doctor because the pain that their child is going through is too intense to bear. And but from morning till night, they're chopping animals dead and they don't feel a thing. It's called cruelty. Drushamsa. And Kaikeyi's cruelty came from this word Bhagavatam called mamata. Generally, mamata is associated with mother because it's mamata. In Sanskrit, mamata means mine. So, you know the shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, aham mameti. These two things are every conditioned soul's greatest enemies. Wrong idea of I and associated wrong idea of mine. And she felt nothing in her heart moved because she was doing it for her son Bharat. Same with Dhritarashtra. Young sons of Pandu became orphans. They went west. The house that they were living in got burnt. One of them was poisoned. So there was a whole plot against them. Everyone else was crying and wailing when Draupadi was being disrobed. But Dhritarashtra, it didn't move at all. That's the aham mama iti. But mama is very, very treacherous. So this verse has the list of things that we call mama. Mama dhanam, mama janam, mama sundari, mama kavita. So this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us that all the things that I consider mine or have value for me because they're mine, I want to step away from. Not step away from them as a practitioner, a step away from the mind conception, the sense of owning something. Does that address your question, Atulya?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Wonderful.
You find in throughout Bhagavata, throughout Ramayana, throughout any Purana, any situation, wherever this mamakara enters, it destroys everything. It creates unlimited problems for that person and for people around. Therefore, whenever one is performing yajna and you're pouring ghee into the fire or throwing grains, and we say swaha, actually we are also supposed to, in your mind or verbally say na mama, that this offering or whatever is for this personality. So in Indra, if they're doing some yajna for Vishnu, say idam Vishnave, idam namama. This is for Vishnu, this is not for me. So as on a day-to-day basis, we make a plate of bhoga and we look at all the dishes that are there, the samosas and so we look at it, and before it goes to the altar, I already mark it. That pakoda is for me. That samosa is for this one. The sweet looks nice. Idam Vishnave, idam namama. Therefore, we say namama, namaha. Not for me, not mine. Okay. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Basically,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, just based on staying with the truth, staying with one's vows, I have some observations and I would like to hear from you on how to address some of these observations. Just to be direct and straight here. Say, for example, that somebody has taken a vow, say a vow of chanting whatever be the number of rounds and following some principles. And quite often when I see that when some people are not able to follow these, I broadly see three major categories of people here as such. One is the case where, especially in this current so-called corona or COVID situation, a lot of people are having so much work pressure that they work from morning to night. And just to borrow a phrase from Stephen Covey, what's urgent and important takes our immediate attention, but what's important but not so urgent doesn't take it. So the work pressure from the office is urgent and important, and that takes all the attention. Chanting is important, but supposedly not urgent, and that doesn't take that attention. So the focus of the mind, the focus of a person's energy goes completely to solve that, and they get so drained by it that there is no time for chanting. That's one case where following vows becomes tough. And in others, I see that for they may not face these kind of pressures. Some people may not face these kind of pressures, but what's happening is there is no immediate tangible goals that can be achieved by chanting as such. It seems to be boring, or more specifically to say, it seems like if there is a purpose, if there are smaller like tangible goals or if there are some life projects, if they are involved in, then they would be all the more eager to derive the benefit from chanting and use that in their life project or the project for the next 1 or 2 years. And the problem I see here is most of us have not been trained to identify a project by ourselves. If somebody gives us a project and we have a relationship with that somebody, we go do it and it works fine. But chanting as a project doesn't come. like if I'm given a project, like say I have to build a temple. To build a temple, I need Krishna's mercy. They'll chant well to do that service, but otherwise the spiritual life is in a disarray. So one is a person who cannot address the important but not urgent there. One is this kind of person who doesn't have this life purpose, and for whom it seems like there has to be an external person to constantly help them. And we have a lack of such people. I mean, we don't have sufficient number of people who have all the time and energy to keep them motivated and give them life projects. And then there are the third kind of people who are very emotionally sensitive. Something that the husband says, something that the wife says, gets running in the mind so much that the beat bag is out of the picture. What to do? Like how to help these categories of people, which could be myself too, how to come out of such situations, and what's the best maybe mid-term and short-term things that can be done?
It's a 3-hour seminar you asked me. When I was in Bangalore some years ago, we actually did this whole exercise of, it was you, a whole bunch of devotees that we know, and your temple brahmacharis and others all joined when we did this matrix of importance and urgency and worked on different items. The fact that one thing about that quadrant of important and urgent is that it's the quadrant of stress. Everything that we put in that becomes a source of stress. So a person who has to manage their time is skilled at or learns how to move things out of that quadrant. The reason things become urgent is because in some of them have not been addressed previously. So one of the causes is procrastination. Second is not understanding the context of timelines. I'm speaking generally. For what you have expressed, giving a general answer does not touch anyone's heart, although general principles exist. These are things that need to be done on a one-on-one basis, where each person's situation may be slightly different. And unless it is evaluated at an individual level, we may not understand. And some people's lives are admittedly very stressful. So it's very difficult. If they are initiated, that means they found time to chant their 16 to get to initiation. Of course, life circumstances can change and everyone is bombarded with challenges, no doubt about it. So it requires what I termed of late. I gave a presentation to our youth in ISKCON. I called it coping strategies. Every person should create coping strategies for themselves. Generally, one of the problems, not the problem, one of the problems is we're able to do something because we have a schedule. I should wake up at 3 o'clock, chant my round stand, and we make all sort of plans or determinations or aspirations to follow that ideal. And after some time, we cannot follow it. One, because the ideal is, what we need is not an ideal schedule. What we need is a real schedule. And we try to close the gap between real and ideal, but real is more real. So one has to look at one's day and make a very realistic schedule of what the demands on the time are, what the responsibilities are. Time of death, what is it that's going to come to help? So other things are also important, is also more important. So we put the horse and the cart together, but we put the horse before the cart. So it requires individual analysis, a plan, or what I call a coping strategy, to work on oneself and have a very realistic schedule, not an ideal schedule. I'm sure each one of us is guilty. If you open your notebooks, somewhere on sheets of paper are our aspired schedule. I will wake up at this time. From this time to this time will be japa. This time to that time will be read. We have done it all hundreds of times, right? And somehow it doesn't. We are able to match it for a few minutes or a few days or maybe something, and then it goes away. One, because it's too idealistic. There's another reason. If we study Bhagavad Gita, um, it gives us the solution, the diagnosis. Just last night we were talking about this. Maintenance, a steady maintenance, is a feature of Sattva Guna. If we are operating in Rajaguna and Tamaguna generally, for whatever is the state of stress is borderline Raja and Tamaguna, because it agitates, then we do all sorts of things, cut corners and do uh, shortcuts which are untruth nonsense in the spirit of the word of truth. So when consciousness is hovering in Rajaguna, Tamaguna, grasping something in Sattva-guna is impossible. It is only possible because the modes are always going up and down. So when the wave of Sattva comes up, for a short while, someone latches on to it and feels this sense of happiness. And very soon Sattva goes down, Raja and Tama show up. So in general, one's life needs to somehow or the other percolate towards Sattva Guna. And that is not enough. One has to do it. And today is Srila Bhakti Vinod's disappearance day. For all Grahasthas, he is the hero. 11th, magistrate. And he didn't have a smartphone, nothing. Of course, we cannot emulate his lifestyle. We cannot imitate his lifestyle, but we definitely can. Everything had place in his day. His day was very, very efficient. So somehow or the other, we pray, Namo Bhakti Vinodaya, Sachidananda Namine, Gaura Shakti Sarupaya, Rupa Nuga Bharayate, that his mercy may flow into our life to sort of disentangle, declutter, and put things in order. But it takes our own uh, I don't want to use the word commitment, but our own whatever, to put something together and follow through in a real sort of way. Otherwise, it has to be one-on-one. That's all the principles I can give at this point, Shankar.
Okay, Prabhu. I'd like to hear more too, so maybe I'll catch up with you sometime.
I noticed that in certain phases of my life, the things were very stressful. I had what I call the getting by sadhana. Just got the bare minimum somehow done and moved on. Yeah, I'll give you an example. So let's say there's a phase of time where we used to wake up very early and all around, but some of us became pujaris on the altar. That means by 4:30 we had to be at the temple. So one option is to wake up at 2:30, chant as many rounds as possible, get on the altar, and then manage a whole day after that. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not possible. But rather than that ideal schedule, we created what's a realistic schedule. Okay, I need enough sleep, because if sleep is not sufficient, one becomes irritable, stressed, one will, do all sorts of things. Sleep enough, sleep properly, take care of your services, and find a schedule that suits your day, in which you can do the same thing every day at the same time. That's one of the qualities of Satguru in Shansa. Anyway, there's a lot more, but it's not possible to put so much into an answer to a question that is a very broad subject.
Thank you for elaborating, Prabhu.
Sure. Anything else? Silence. No sadhana questions or satyam questions. You don't have to feel forced to ask something. I'm not fishing for questions. If there's nothing, I'm totally pacified. So counting down. 3, 2,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
1.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
That sounds like a sage from a different planet.
um, just two appreciations, Prabhuji. One is you mentioned that in the verse, one particular word will indicate a verb that will be the kind of center of that verse. I really appreciate that thing. I immediately thought of a couple of other verses and I could really relate. For example, Tatte Anukampam Susamikshmano. So I was thinking the Bhunjan is and Vidasan Namaste is another verb which centralizes the verse. So I really appreciate that. And the other thing you mentioned.
That verse is tricky. That verse is very tricky. It has many verbs.
But I could relate more with the Bhunjan. Yeah, I could relate
okay, great.
with those two verses. And the other thing, other appreciation that I have is you mentioned that sometimes we end up doing other things in parallel of doing chanting. And sometimes I find myself doing that too. And when you said many years ago you realized that, so that was quite inspiring, that for many years you have not been doing it. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing that inspiration.
No, you're welcome.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hey, Haribol.
Prabhu, my question is, maybe it's a little bit off topic, but I'm trying to relate to the verse that you displayed, which had Satyam Vratam, a term Satyam Vratam. So my question is,
Yes.
So trying to start a business or doing some paperwork in India, what I experienced so far is we have to give bribes, or we have to, there is a demand for bribery. Otherwise your project, whatever you want to plan, is like really delayed. So how does a devotee react in this kind of circumstance?
It depends on a person's conviction in truth. Some persons will say, I don't care, I will never cross the line, and bribe. Persons say, a little bribe, that's just the system. You have to grease the wheel a little bit. So it all depends on each person's own barometer of, or for each person's heart, where that line of truth exists, and at one that line can, because you easily cross it over. We need to find ourselves. He says, yeah, I don't care for great man. It is easier to say because it's not ours anyway, but this, he's in the middle of entire earth globe in one sense, says I don't want it. Soul to give up happiness, to stand on the platform of truth is not easy. It is not jeevati, but I will not budge. Apply that. If I apply that, not we. If I apply that, I'll be dead very soon. So it's definitely giving us a principle. So what is the principle of truthfulness that I can abide by, such that I live by, let's say, this verse? That is something we have to ask ourselves. Because I cannot tell you, oh, you're crossing the line of truth, because I don't know your circumstance. I may have a general idea, but I don't know your circumstance. And truth by itself has a feature that is applied in this way and that way, depending on what the outcome one is seeking. For example, a Brahmana never lies. That's just the principle. If someone's life is in danger, a Brahmana will not say, yeah, the person is hiding there, go kill them. Because that truth violates another truth, that life needs to be protected. And same, Lord Krishna, who's the personification of truth, he's called Satya Sankalpa, told Yudhishthir Maharaj, say, Ashwatthama iti kunjara hataha. So, to put very absolute boundaries is very, very difficult. And I, for one, is not qualified to tell you that is your line. That is something each one of us has to find and live by. Sorry, it's a very non-committal answer, but honestly, that's the real answer.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think I might need more explanation specific to my case.
Sure. Yes,
Thank you.
I'm happy to do it. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. I hope this verse, just like Sikshastikam verse 4, becomes another ornament in our treasure chest, that Ramachandra, Sri Ramachandra is gladly there for us to help us in our existential issues, especially when we find our vows or principles weakening, or we want more strength. He says, I seek, I bring, I'm there for you. Just the way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, he's there for us. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.